Today, we're not just talking about productivity tips. We are going to completely rewire your entire approach to mental energy with a system called cognitive bandwidth budgeting.
Think about it. We all know that feeling, right? That wall you slam into mid-afternoon where your brain just feels foggy. It's like you're running on fumes, and even the smallest decision feels like a huge effort. Now, we usually blame it on a bad night's sleep, or maybe not enough coffee. But what if the real culprit is something else entirely?
The reason you run out of mental energy by 3 p.m. isn't a lack of sleep, it's a catastrophic budgeting failure. We're going to show you the scientific system to treat your focus like a billionaire treats capital, maximizing returns on every single thought. See, this isn't about working longer or harder, no way. It's about making a radical shift in your strategy, moving from just managing your time to meticulously managing your cognitive capital.
So, here's our game plan for the next few minutes. We're going to unpack this piece by piece. First, we'll define the 3 p.m. paradox and diagnose the science behind what I call mental bankruptcy. Then, I'm going to lay out the complete budgeting system for your mind, explain the psychology that makes it so ridiculously effective, and give you a precise, step-by-step protocol to implement your very first 100-unit day. The whole point here is to completely change how you think about creating real value. Okay, so let's start with the big problem, the 3 p.m. paradox. That daily crash you feel? It's not a moral failing. You're not weak. You don't lack willpower. It is, quite simply, the totally predictable outcome of a broken strategy. For years, we've been treating our focus, which is, by the way, the most valuable and finite resource we have, as if it's some infinite well we can just draw from whenever we want.
And that brings us to the foundational idea of this entire system. Your focus is a daily budget. That's it. You wake up every single morning with a limited amount of high-quality cognitive energy. Every task, every little decision, every single interruption is a withdrawal from that account. And without a solid plan, we overspend on low-value nonsense early in the day, which absolutely guarantees we'll be mentally overdrawn by 3 p.m.
This pattern of consistent overspending leads to a state that we can only call mental bankruptcy. And to fix it, we first have to diagnose the high and often invisible cost of an unmanaged mind. And you know what? There's actually a well-established psychological concept that describes exactly what's happening to you every single day. It's called ego depletion. And this isn't just about feeling tired. No, this is a measurable state of diminished mental resources. It's directly caused by wasting your prime cognitive capacity on trivial stuff. And the result? It's a cascade of failure. That mental fog rolls in, the quality of your decision-making completely plummets, and you start defaulting to easy, reactive choices instead of the proactive, strategic ones that actually move the needle.
So let's be crystal clear about what we mean by waste. Your brain's prefrontal cortex, that's the CEO of your brain, your executive function, it's built for high return on investment tasks. Things like solving complex problems, long-term strategic planning, or learning a really difficult new skill. But what do? We squander this elite capacity on zero ROI tasks, the constant buzzing of notifications, the mental whiplash of flipping between 10 different browser tabs, the endless stream of tiny little decisions that just bleed our energy dry.
Now look at this. This visual really shows the scale of the mismanagement. While the numbers might vary a bit for you, studies suggest many of us spend up to 75% of our daily cognitive budget on these low-value, zero-return activities. That leaves a measly 25% for the deep, focused work that actually drives our careers and creates real value. I mean, this isn't just inefficient, it's a blueprint for guaranteed afternoon burnout.
So how in the world do we reverse this? We install a system. I'm not talking about vague tips like be more mindful. I'm talking about a rigorous financial framework for your mind. We are going to learn to treat our attention with the same deliberate, hardcore discipline that the world's best investors treat their capital.
This whole framework is built on 3 distinct phases. First up is the Bandwidth Audit, where we finally make the invisible visible by actually quantifying our mental energy. Second is the 70-30 investment rule. This is our core principle for protecting and allocating that energy. And third is the Automation and Elimination Protocol, where we get absolutely ruthless about cutting our mental expenses.
Okay, phase 1. It all starts with a huge mental shift. We stop thinking of focus as some abstract feeling and start treating it as a concrete, quantifiable asset. To do this, you assign yourself a daily budget of 100 cognitive units. This is your starting capital for the day. And your job, starting now, is to become a meticulous accountant of where every single one of those units is spent. And here's what that looks like in the real world. You actually start logging your expenditures. You know, writing that difficult project proposal, that's deep work. A high-cost, high-return investment. That might cost you 20 units. Clearing out your email inbox, that's what we call shallow work. It's necessary, sure, but way less demanding, maybe costing you 5 units. A 10-minute doom scroll through social media, that's just pure waste. An easy 10-unit expenditure with absolutely zero return. For the first time, you'll see exactly where your mental money is going.
Seeing that audit naturally leads us to phase 2, which is the absolute heart of this entire system, the 70-30 investment rule. This is a non-negotiable mandate for your day. Just like a disciplined investor allocates the vast majority of their funds to their highest growth assets, you must mandate that the first 70% of your cognitive budget is invested exclusively in your most important deep work.
This chart right here, this is your new ideal day. That huge protected 70% slice is for your single most critical task. It's time-blocked, it's defended from every single interruption. The other 30%? That's your buffer. That's for meetings, emails, admin tasks, all that shallow work that's just part of the job. This structure builds a firewall, preventing the tyranny of the urgent from devouring your most productive hours.
And finally, we have phase 3, the Automation and Elimination Protocol. Look, a savvy investor doesn't just make good investments, they are obsessed with minimizing fees and cutting unnecessary expenses. You have to adopt that exact same mindset for your mental budget. This is all about systematically hunting down and eliminating those zero ROI tasks by automating trivial, recurring decisions.
So now we have the what of the system, but it's so important to understand why it works. Why is it so effective at rewiring your brain for high performance? I promise you, this isn't just a random collection of productivity hacks. Its power is rooted in the core principles of neuroscience and psychology.
The system's effectiveness really boils down to 3 key mechanisms. First, it actively conserves your executive function. That's the finite resource you need for any high-level thought. Second, it harnesses something called contextual fluency by minimizing costly task switching. And third, it imposes a really powerful scarcity mindset, which completely changes how you value and spend your attention.
Let's just double-click on that second point. Before this system, your day is defined by something called the task switching penalty. Every single time you jump from a report to an email to a chat notification, your brain pays a cognitive tax. It literally has to disengage from one context and load an entirely new one, draining your prefrontal cortex. But the 70-30 rule mandates single tasking on your most important work, which practically eliminates this tax and dramatically accelerates your ability to enter a flow state, that elusive peak state of performance.
And this right here is the psychological masterstroke of the whole thing. By simply quantifying your energy into 100 finite units, you force your brain to acknowledge its own limits. You impose scarcity. And that simple shift is profound. It moves you from being a passive consumer of information and a reactor to endless pings to becoming a deliberate, strategic spender of your most precious professional asset, your focus.
Okay, that's enough theory. Let's make this real. Right now, we are at the implementation protocol for your very first 100-unit day. This is your direct action plan. No ambiguity.
First things first, burn this number into your mind. 100. This is not some abstract idea. It is your daily budget of cognitive units, or CUs. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, you have exactly 100 CUs in your account. And your one mission is to invest them with absolute intention.
Here is your 3-step, non-negotiable protocol. 1. Before you even think about starting work, spend 5 minutes planning your 100 CUs. Then, for just one day, track your spending. 2. Block out the first 90 minutes to 2 hours of your day. This is your 70 CU block. Dedicate it to just one high-leverage task. No email, no social media, 0 interruptions. And 3. Find and automate 3 routine decisions you make every single day.
This is how you enforce what's called zero-based budgeting. You're cutting your mental expenses to free up capital for better investments. And the decisions you automate can be incredibly simple. Decide what you're going to wear for the whole week. Pre-plan your lunches. Set 3 specific 15-minute blocks for checking email, and forbid yourself from opening it any other time. Each decision you automate is cognitive capital saved and reinvested where it truly matters.
All right, let's bring this all home. If you only absorb one single idea from this entire explainer, Please let it be this fundamental reevaluation of how you generate value in your work and, frankly, in your life.
You are not paid for your time. You are not paid for being busy or for the appearance of effort. You are paid for the strategic investment of your attention. Being busy is cheap. It's a low-value commodity. But focused strategic attention, that is the rarest and most valuable currency in the modern economy. Period.
So the real question becomes, are you ready to stop fighting this losing battle against exhaustion? Are you ready to stop being a victim of your own schedule and start engineering scarcity, treating your focus like the protected, high-value asset it actually is?
The choice starts with your very next workday. I want you to make a clear commitment. Right now, tomorrow morning, you will wake up and consciously assign your first budget of 100 cognitive units. You will step into the role of CEO of your own mental energy.
So, let's do a quick masterclass recap. Cognitive bandwidth budgeting, at its core, solves the crippling problem of mental scarcity and low-quality output. Now, why does this matter? Because it gives you a systematic way to conserve your executive function and maximize the returns on your most valuable asset, your attention. The 70-30 investment rule is the core framework that prevents ego depletion, and the Automation Protocol is your secret weapon to accelerate your path to that incredible flow state.
And just remember this one last thing. True productivity was never about doing more. It's about mastering systems that make deep, meaningful focus feel effortless.